Hey YouTube, today's video I'm going to talk about a emergency power backup that I have that I use if we lose grid power during a storm or a blackout or whatever. And it's a short-term power source, but it allows me to continue to communicate with the outside world when I have a loss of grid power. So I'll show you what I'm using, how I have it wired up, and then I'll demonstrate what happens when we do lose power. So the main component here is this thing on the floor. It kind of looks like a surge suppressor. In fact, it is a surge suppressor, but it's also has a battery in there, and it's called a UPS. And really, these are used for servers and PCs, and I'm not going to go into that today, but I'll just say, certainly if you have a standalone desktop PC, you should have a surge protector, because that's not something you just want to yank the power cord out of the wall. You can damage your computer. Laptops, doesn't really matter, right, because they have an internal battery. But I'm not using this UPS, uninterruptible power supply. I'm not using that for a desktop. I'm using that to provide backup power for my communications gear. So when I say communications gear, I mean telephone and internet. So you might say, well, I have a cell phone, okay, and I have a smartphone, and I can, I don't really need to worry about my landline or my cable internet or DSL internet, and that's fine. But if you live in a semi-rural area or rural area, you may have good cell phone signal right now, but in a windstorm may blow over the cell tower, and that may be the only one that you can reach. So if that one cell tower goes over, you might not have any signal at all, as opposed to, in the middle of some urban environment. If a cell tower goes over, you can still, attach to another tower and you're fine. But I would just say, even if you do use a cell phone, think about a system like this. It's real cheap insurance. This battery backup that I have, I paid about $65 for. And for $65, I get about 75 minutes from the moment power goes off. I've got 75 minutes of internet use and landline telephone use. Okay, so here's how it's wired up. In this cabinet here, let's see if I can adjust things a little bit better. Okay. So all right. So in this cabinet, and I'll open up this side too. So there's two pieces of gear in here. There's the cable telephone box, and the cable internet box, a cable modem. And so what's going on here is, this is from outside. Cable comes in, and I've got it in this, like one of these little cable runs, just to keep everything neat. Goes up here underneath the countertop and into this cabinet. So the cable comes in from the outside. I'm going to try and focus here. Goes into this splitter. One side of the splitter goes to the cable modem, and the other side of the splitter goes to the cable telephone box. Coming out of the cable telephone box, of course, is the telephone line, and coming out of the cable internet box, of course, is Ethernet cable. So that's pretty standard. And just on top of my counter, I have a wireless router, which serves all of the computers in my house, tablet and PCs and etc. And then this is the base station for the wireless telephone system. So each, in the bedrooms and so forth, they've got a little tiny base with one of these handsets. The handsets have batteries. So power goes out, the handsets all work because they have internal batteries. But if the power goes out and you're not powering this base is dead, your whole system is dead. Okay? So a lot of times, of course this is all based on what I've noticed, that power can go out but the cable will still be active. Your internet will still be active. So there's basically now 4 pieces of gear: the telephone base, the wireless router, and of course the cable telephone box and the cable internet box. And this UPS, which is just a cyber power, I think it's a 600 VA cyber power. This device will power this battery. This UPS will power those 4 devices for about 75 minutes. So why is that important? Because, well, number one, if you just have these kind of transient blackouts where you lose power for a few seconds or for 10 minutes or whatever, you keep going and there's not even a glitch. So you don't lose your telephone. You could be in the middle of a telephone conversation, and if you lose power, everything is still good. You could be, in the middle of a download or doing whatever you're doing on the internet, lose power, you're still cranking along. And the other thing that it does is, if there's a storm or something where you have a line goes down or something where you're going to lose power for a while, this at least gives me 75 minutes, gives me time to call up the power company, find out what's going on, or report a power outage if it hasn't already been reported. And as well, online, my power company, they have a online outage map. So you can go online and you can check and see when when they estimate that the repair will be complete, and so on and so forth. So 75 minutes isn't a tremendous amount of time, but it's still enough time for you to figure out what's going on. So say about a month ago, there was a huge spring storm, knocked over power lines and all of that. So 75 minutes was, gave me enough time then to go down and wheel out my generator and hook up the generator to the house and get stuff powered back up again. But in the meantime, if I needed to call 911 or I needed to do something on the internet, I could still do that because I had my communications gear continued to work because of this UPS. So the UPS, and I don't have this hooked up all the time, but just most of them today that you buy have like a little USB cable that plugs in to the UPS. You can see it running down there on the front, and it plugs in here to your laptop. And I'm going to try and show this. I hope it comes out. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So there's this little utility, and it kind of gives you this status display, and it says, okay, we're running on AC power. This is how much voltage is coming in, and 100% battery capacity. It's fully charged, and it estimates 70 minutes. And I found, yeah, it's between 70 and 75 minutes. Sorry about that. That's that bird clock. It always goes off. And it also tells you how much power you're using. So really, you think about all my communications gear only uses about 40 watts. So that's not very much. Now, if you buy a bigger UPS, which you certainly could do, you would get much more than 72 minutes or 75 minutes. But really, a UPS is not a long-term power supply. It's only going to get you through a short time. But let me show you what happens. All I'll do here, I'm just going to simulate a power outage by just pulling this out of the wall. Okay, so immediately UPS lights up, and here we go. And you can see now we're running on battery, and it's discharging 70 minutes, and that even tells you down here UPS no longer receiving utility power. But hey, I've still got internet, my wireless router is still going, my phone is still going, no problem. And I'll just plug this guy back in, and then boom, we're back and up and running. Hey, for 65 bucks, it's cheap insurance, and really allows me to stay online and stay connected in case I need to make an emergency call or whatever. Especially where we live, cell phone service is spotty, so I don't want to rely on cell phone. And I just put this out there as a suggestion that maybe if you're watching this, you might want to think about whether it's a good idea to get one of these, and then at least you have some redundant communications, even if you do have good cell phone signal. So anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments.